it just feels like such an amazing award and achievement and responsibility to represent NXT. You know, this is a huge responsibility, and it's one that I wanted. It's an opportunity that I wanted to have the chance to represent NXT.
And now, welcome to the Masked Man Show. The living legend, Joe Hendry. Thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me on the show.
You know, most of the people that listen to our podcast are diehard wrestling fans that know exactly who you are and have been following your career for some time. But I think there's probably some WWE fans out there that don't realize how long you've been at this. You've been wrestling since... professional wrestling, I should say, since, am I right in saying 2013?
Yes, 2013 is when I started.
And you were a freestyle wrestler before that?
Incorrect.
You was after that?
Yes, I was wrestling. I was a pro wrestler. Started in 2013. That's when I started training. And it was a year or two later that I had decided I wanted to legitimize myself more in the sport of professional wrestling, and the best way to do that would be to learn the sport of amateur wrestling. So I had a judo background, transitioned to amateur wrestling at the rather late age of, I think it was 26, and I was fortunate enough to work hard and capture 2 British championships.
That is incredible. But that's a very old school thing. I mean, we talk a lot about wrestling history on this show, and you know, the legends of old wrestling promotions that wouldn't put somebody on top unless they had the amateur background or many. But as somebody who's been doing this for as long as you have, does it feel strange that like there's an incredible breakthrough around every corner for the past 5 years of your career? Does it feel like this is something that the end of the logical progression of this long process, or is it wild to you that this kind of fame is coming right now?
Well, I think it's both, really, to be honest, because it has been it was a slow and steady process for such a long time. And I had grown to, I was loving what I was doing, even in front of a couple of hundred people. And when, I finally just, because I used to have these ideas and visions for myself, and I knew in my heart that I would walk out of WrestleMania one day and go on to do all these great things. But there was a point where that felt quite far away. I would say in 2021, 2022, because in 2020, I was wrestling in America, and we had to come back to the UK because the world shut down. And at that point, the dream did seem rather far away. So when I came back to start wrestling in America, I'd say 2023, 2024, things really accelerated. And then the song came out. I had my appearance on NXT. And before you know it, I was in the Rumble. I was at WrestleMania. And now, I'm NXT champion.
You are NXT champion. I was just thinking about that. I was rewatching your big win on NXT last week. And it was such an incredible moment. I think there's a degree to which, like, I hadn't fully talked myself into the possibility, which is such one of the great things about pro wrestling, or at least the match. It talked me out of it. I don't know what it was. I was also thinking back to your WrestleMania match against Randy Orton, and there's some Joe Hendry stands out there who are mad that you didn't get the win at WrestleMania, but we were sitting here on the show saying it was a greater honor just to be there, just to be in the ring with Randy Orton. I know you said some of the same stuff then. Is winning the NXT title a bigger moment than that WrestleMania moment?
It's completely different. So for me, getting to wrestle at WrestleMania in a featured match and being the opponent for Randy Orton's 20th WrestleMania, it was absolutely incredible. So in terms of being like a euphoric achievement, it's that was just an incredible moment in my life that so few people would be able to experience. So I feel very fortunate to have experienced that. Becoming NXT champion has been it's really been the focus of the entire focus of my life for the last while. I've been in the performance center every day, honing my craft, just trying to get just that little bit better each and every day, pushing myself. And, it just feels like such an amazing award and achievement and responsibility to represent NXT. This is a huge responsibility, and it's one that I wanted. It's an opportunity that I wanted to have the chance to represent NXT. And the moment that you win the championship, you have this moment. I remember being at the top of the ladder when I just, I felt this wave of energy as I sometimes do when you have a big achievement. But the moment that that's over, you now have the pressures of being champion. So, for example, I'm now thinking about how are the live event sales doing. I'm thinking, where are the TV numbers? I'm thinking, what do I need to do to help elevate NXT as a member of this team? And I'm thoroughly excited to walk out tonight. It's always exciting when there's a new champion, and tonight I'm going to get the chance to walk out on NXT Live on CW as NXT champion and represent the company. It's very exciting.
Joe, I'm glad you brought up the responsibility of becoming champion, because in prior interviews, you made no bones about how much you wanted to be in NXT because you felt like you still had a lot to learn, had a lot to grow into your role. How do you sort of, well, I guess I can't, I don't know if you have the answer to that now, but how do you sort of look to sort of strive for the balance of carrying that responsibility of being the face of NXT and being the guy who, gets people to buy tickets and come to see you, and also still learning and still becoming, a more well-rounded sports entertainer, more well-rounded professional wrestler, in order to obviously achieve the bigger goal past NXT of being a full-time main roster, talent?
Right. Well, so the first thing I would say is there's a lot to unpack there. So the first thing I'll say is when you're champion, there is no balance. There is absolutely no balance. If you are looking for balance, then you don't need to be champion. That's just my viewpoint. When you're the champion, it's 24/7. There are new responsibilities, and there are it's that saying, everyone wants to sit in your chair until it's time to sit in your chair. So for me, this is an opportunity that I've wanted so badly, and so for me, the focus is just doing the absolute best job that I can possibly do. I want to apologize. Unfortunately, there's someone mowing their lawn right outside the window. I don't know if you guys can hear this or not.
Actually, it's not too bad.
Okay, go.
A little buzz.
Yeah. I think they're probably going to pass by in about 30 seconds or so. So apologies for that, folks. But no, there is no balance. And to be honest with you, you're talking about future goals and things like that. That's not how I think. That may be how other people think. But for me, my goal right now is NXT has entrusted me to be the champion. So my job is to be solely focused on elevating NXT and doing what I can do to take this championship to the next level. NXT for anyone who maybe hasn't seen wrestling in a while, like NXT is an amazing, fast-paced, action-packed wrestling show, and I encourage people to check it out. I'm super excited to be in this position, and right now I'm just completely focused on the brand.
Man,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Dave.
Sorry. Give us a little behind the scenes on your arrival in NXT. I mean, you started showing up when there was this talent exchange between TNA and WWE. And then at some point you just sort of became a full-time member of the NXT roster. Was that always in the cards when you first started coming over from TNA? Was this something that had always been planned out, or was it just as much a steady progression as it seemed to us?
It was organic. And that's one thing that I love about professional wrestling is that, ultimately the fans decide. I appeared on NXT, and then because of the overwhelming fan response, like that year, for 2024, my debut on NXT was the most watched video on X in all of wrestling. So to get that kind of response on NXT, that led to future opportunities. And that's what this business is about. When you get one opportunity and it goes well, you're given other ones, and you just have to keep doing your absolute best to knock it out of the park. So it's a testament to the strength of the partnership between NXT and TNA that allowed this to happen. But the process was organic, and I think it was great for all parties.
You and Drew McIntyre both have gold right now. What are your group texts like at the moment?
Well, yeah, it's Drew's someone who I've faced a great deal in the UK on the independent scene in the time that he left WWE. So I always say that Drew was, our Undertaker of the locker room. The way that the current roster talk about the Undertaker and the influence that he had on the locker room, that is how I feel about how Drew was when he was here on the independent scene. So he was very much a leader. So for he's done all these amazing things, and now he is the man. He is the undisputed WWE champion. But for me to also be a champion in WWE, holding a championship that he used to hold, for us to both be champions, it's really exciting, and we're proud for Scotland.
NXT has done some. I love that they're doing live events again. I love that they're traveling for premium live events. But NXT used to go overseas a lot. And as a UK champion and a Scottish champion, how high is it on the priority list as the man holding the gold right now to bring NXT back over the pond?
Wow, that would be amazing. It would be a dream of mine to perform in Scotland and across. It's because I've performed with WWE across the United Kingdom. I did some house shows, and I got the opportunity to wrestle The Miz, but I haven't wrestled in Scotland yet. And to do that, to wrestle for WWE in Scotland would be an absolute dream of mine. So I would love to get that done. And look, NXT is a super hot brand, and I would love to see it come back to the UK, come back to Europe one day.
WrestleMania season is upon us. WrestleMania is not too far away from now, and God willing, you'll still be the champ then. Who is your dream opponent for the NXT champion in WrestleMania weekend?
Wow. I mean, if you're asking me for a dream opponent now, I've been very fortunate in that I've been able to have some dream matches. But right now, why not go back to what we were talking about there? I think, Drew being the undisputed WWE champion and me being the NXT champion, it's happened before where NXT champions have faced main roster members. There was obviously when Kevin Owens as the NXT champion faced John Cena as the United States champion. So it's very exciting when things like that happen. So I think a match between myself and Drew at some point would be very exciting.
Last year you were very, I wouldn't say adamant, but you definitely had high hopes to wrestle John Cena one last time before he hung up his Reebok pumps. When they announced the Iron Survivor challenges, John Cena, announced everybody. He made sure to do your gimmick and hit the pose and all that. And he also made sure to hit the Performance Center and talk to a lot of the up-and-coming stars down at NXT. I know he's left a lot of advice to a lot of the people over there. What was the best advice he sort of left to you, or what was the best piece of advice you took away from him in the time around John?
So there's two that really stick out to me. John, one thing that was amazing was at the Royal Rumble, I asked, would it be possible to ask you a couple questions sometime? And he says, well, tell you what, why don't we go over here and you can ask me anything you ever wanted to ask me? And I was like, wow, he's a pretty busy guy and he had a pretty busy day. So the fact he was willing to just say, yeah, let's sit down and we can discuss anything you want to discuss or ask me. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And in that time, I learned a great deal about how John Cena approaches the art of timing. And in this business and in life, timing is everything. And the advice didn't just apply to a match or a promo or business. It really applies to everything in life. So I think that was something that, sometimes you get a piece of advice that has other layers to it, that when you get a bit more experience, you start to understand even more what they meant. And I think there's a little bit of that with John and the advice that he gave me. So there's that. I'd say that was the main one.
Joe, I know we got to let you get out of here soon. when I ask my wrestling buddies, I mean, everybody loves Joe Hendry, but when I ask them what their favorite part of Joe Hendry is, everybody has a different answer. You talked about the virality of big moments and of the slow climb to the success. Do you have like a favorite tweak that you've made to your persona over the years that you feel made all the difference? Like, I know you write your own music. Like, was it the theme song? Was it, you know, a lot of wrestlers before you have gotten over by bleaching their hair? Like, was there a move that you made that you were just like, oh, now I've got it figured out?
It was a very gradual process. Like you say, making the decision to dye my hair blonde was one of them. The entrance song was another. I mean, the entrance song is obviously one that sticks out the most because I carved out 2 weeks full time to just write what I thought would be the best pro wrestling entrance song I could possibly write. So, you know, I'm proud of myself for carving the time out, for giving it everything I've got and delivering the goods. So that was, you know, it's a rare thing in life when we have big dreams and big goals and you try to create something that has a real impact on your life, and then, you know, you execute it and you get it done. It's you know, we all have a handful of those moments in life, and that was one for me for sure. So that would be the answer.
Does WWE have to pay you a royalty every time they play your theme song?
Even better than that, like, you got the royalties, right? You wrote it. I'm saying, is the ASCAP sending you a check every year, or YouTube sending you a check for that viral song? It's got to feel good, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, if I was foolish enough to disclose the details of my business interests on a podcast, I don't think I'd be champion. So nice try, guys.
Oh, that's great. Kaz, you got one more, or do you want to get out?
No. We're ready to get out, yeah.
All right, Joe, thank you so much for stopping by. The NXT champion, Joe Hendry. We can't wait to watch you on NXT this week, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good one, champ.